Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Celebrity Stage Stories with Jerry Strauss. He is I am him. And of course, Celebrity Stage Stories is brought to you by Edge Magazine. Each issue of Edge explores a compelling cultural theme that it includes an intriguing blend of essays, articles, interviews, artwork, photography, and more, along with interviews with the biggest names in TV, movies, and music. Visit Edge Magazine's website for free digital versions of the magazine, exclusive digital content, and more at edgemagonline.com, and follow them on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram today. As for us and our today, we're glad that you're with us because we have got a fascinating guest on this week. She has, as Johnny Cash once sung, she has been everywhere, man, and she has done everything, man.
This
and
is true.
and we're lucky to have her. My goodness, Vicky Kelleher, how are you? Thank you for making the time.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I just realized I better make sure, Alexa, do not disturb. I was like, I just imagined somebody coming to the door and it would be a whole different kind of interview.
Okay. I have to ask you this because it bears asking. Is Alexa, is that your system, or is there the 1 in 100 chance that there's an actual person in your home named Alexa?
No, sadly, I have nobody named Alexa. It is the ever monitoring system that keeps my life in check. So
Gotcha.
yes.
I'm just waiting for that 1 in a million chance that somebody pops their head up and says, "All right, no problem."
Yeah, I would love to see that.
Well, look, you certainly, whether it's a virtual assistant or a human assistant, definitely have a very busy life and career going on. You have for a long time, and especially right now. What's life like for you? Because we're going to talk about two things that, I mean, we're right in the middle of it. As far as two major projects that just dropped, of course, Paramount Plus's miniseries, The Offer, which so much buzz. Of course, the project about the making of The Godfather, Miles Teller, June Temple, such a great cast, and you're a big part of that, as well as the second season of The Flight Attendant, which is a huge hit. HBO Max, Kaley Cuoco, and everybody else involved in that project. You're on multiple streaming services right now with a lot of hype behind them. How is life for you?
It's great. It was interesting timing that because they happened very different times, in terms of when they were filmed, and then they were coming out basically within a week of each other. So it was like, oh wow, that's a lot of stuff, but it's great. I mean, I've been an actor for 720 years, and I was on set recently, doing a little guest. I did a Chris Evans movie. Yeah, I'm dropping names. And I was with one of the actresses there, and as we're walking, she's younger, and she goes, "You're just so good." And I went, "Well, thank you. I've been doing. I am 75 years old." And she went, "You are?" And I said, "No, I'm not." What? How is that not a joke? Am I at that stage in my life where that isn't a joke?
That's very messed up.
Oh my God. I was like, well, okay, time to go back to makeup.
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, in a way, it's sort of a compliment because I think you've done so much that anyone who is familiar with your work, it feels like you've been around. As long as you've been around, it probably feels like you've been around even longer just because you've packed so much and you've been on so many different high profile things. And I want to ask you about so many of them because I'm such a geek for so many of these TV shows and different projects that you've been a part of. But I want to ask you right off the bat because I did a little prep. You go online, you check out other interviews that you've done, and I heard you identify yourself at one point specifically as a commercial actor.
Yeah.
And I thought that was insanely delusional because you have done so many cool things, not to disparage commercial acting, but I mean, you're so much more diverse than that. Yeah. I can't imagine that today, as we're talking about these projects, you're thinking of yourself as solely a commercial actor. But are there chunks of time in your career where that was just inherently your main focus?
Absolutely. Yeah. My very first experience when I kind of decided to start this journey, I got they have things called showcases back in the day where you acted and agents and managers saw you. And I got signed by a commercial agent that very night. And within a week, I booked 2 national commercials. And so I feel like, I don't know if you've ever read, do you know the book, The Alchemist?
I've heard of it. I have not
It's
read it.
amazing. You should read it. It's like this big, but it's just wonderful. And one of the things he says is when you're starting the journey you're supposed to be on, you'll get a lot of luck as you're beginning. And then you'll start to have to kind of do the work to prove, that you want to be a part of it. And so I felt like that was what happened. And commercials sustained me in terms of, getting me insurance and letting me not have a day job. And
Yeah.
so I guess I have a soft spot for them. And also I tend to do the commercials that make people laugh, not the ones that are like, use this diapers, because whenever I audition for those, people are like, you love your children. And I'm like, I do. Why did I think I just don't have the face of a loving mother? I don't know. Not a commercial loving mother anyway.
And you are a loving mother.
And I am a loving mother. Well, you can ask them, but I think I'm a loving mother.
As long as they know it, maybe
Yeah.
they must get beyond I mean, if that is in fact an issue, but
Oh, it's an issue.
well, I mean, and look, the funny commercials are the ones that we all love and remember when it comes down to it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, so many different things you've done. How often, especially in your commercial sort of in the prime of when things are running or whatever, has that been a big part of your celebrity? Do you find yourself being recognized a lot for the commercials you've done?
Yeah, more commercial. Yes, I had a particular commercial that it's still one of my favorites for Chef Boyardee, where I'm shushing my husband and I bang a bunch of pans to make him not talk, so our kid doesn't know there's vegetables in the Chef Boyardee, like you do.
Sure.
And that was probably, I mean, I actually got recognized like in a Starbucks line as "you're the pot banging," and that's still one of the commercials that people really remember that I did. So yeah, I would say more because commercials are more, you're seeing a lot of it.
Yeah.
You do an episode of TV and it maybe reruns a couple times, but you see a lot of commercials. So
I mean, it's very interesting, just the thought of the relativity of celebrity depending on who you're asking, essentially, because you think about, and we're going to talk about one of your early roles on Friends. That's a show that you could be on and, to this day, be iconic just for sharing the screen with that cast on any given episode of that show because so many people still watch it. I mean, I always think to myself, fame is, again, relative to who's asking, because if you're on a show that is syndicated or a commercial that's running a lot, to me, in the eyes of many, you're being seen a lot more than some of the biggest movie stars in the world.
right.
I think of someone like when I was growing up, I think of like a George Clooney as
Yeah.
someone who I thought of as an A-list celebrity.
Definitely.
But when I'm 20 years old, I'm not watching George Clooney movies, but I'm watching Friends and Saved by the Bell and whatever every day.
Yeah.
So those people are way more famous to me than, I'd be much more excited to meet them. So I have to believe that people feel the same way when they see you, if they do recognize you, whether it's from appearing on so many of these shows like Friends, which was very early in your career, right?
Yeah, it was my second job.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know.
So
It was,
what was,
another one of those. I manifested that job though because, of course we were all, who wasn't a fan? It's the greatest show. I still watch it.
sure.
And I've told this story before, but it's still one of my favorites. I bought these pair of yellow checkered pants and I spent like $50 on them, which I'm a very thrifty chick.
Mhm.
But I said, these are pants Rachel would wear. These are my friend's pants. I'm going to call these my friend's pants. And then I ended up getting the audition and I wore them
Mhm.
to the audition. And for some reason, they booked me right then. Like I went in the audition, walked out, they said, please wait. And then went, you got the job, go over to the set. So I walked over and then the costume designer was like, oh, those pants are perfect. And I was like,
Wow.
hey, my friend's pants.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. Um,
Now going back, because your roots are in Minnesota,
yeah,
but you knew back in the homeland, so to speak, that
yeah.
acting was your future, right?
I knew it by accident. I was never cast in a high school play. I auditioned and never got cast in a damn thing. And
Really?
then I was in the speech and debate, and I did like interpretive. I read a poem called "The Lost Child" about a mother who's lost their child. Which I'm 16 and I weigh like 90 pounds. I don't know how that was ever, but I won like a state something or other for that.
Okay.
And as I was in the University of Minnesota, it was like 32 below zero. And I wanted to cut through to the library. So I cut through the theater department and there was a sign up that said auditions. And I was like, hey, I did a speech. So I did my speech as my audition. And I ended up getting a tiny role in the MFA play, The Three Sisters. And, I had no idea. I was ignorance is bliss. It was like the coveted thing to be in an MFA play, even if it
Mm.
was a tiny role. And then that was the end. Then I went, oh, Lord above, oh, yes, please. And it was my tribe, all the weirdos, all the people, we
Yeah.
spoke the same language.
Hmm.
And that was it. And then I was like, I'm a theater major now. So before that, not so much.
It's amazing how sometimes you can find your path just based on finding the people who are also on the same path and just feeling the chemistry with them.
Absolutely. And I feel like it's the gift of California because I feel like so many people here are going for their dreams. And I
Hmm.
don't know that that's true everywhere. I think there are definitely, where I grew up in St. Paul, I
Yeah.
never saw that. I saw people needing to get a day job, and we grew up, on welfare. And so it was like hand to mouth, paycheck to paycheck. So I never really saw people like pursuing passion.
Yeah.
So when I moved here to stalk my husband, um, I was like, oh wow, this is the kind of world I want to live in.
Well, that's an interesting note because most people move specifically for career reasons, but was that not your initial reason for coming out to the West Coast?
No, my husband was he at the time boyfriend was a stand-up comedian,
Hmm.
and he won this show called America's Funniest People,
Hmm.
and so he won 10 grand and was like, I'm going to LA, and broke up with me.
Wait. And
Yeah.
you got here and then he broke up with you?
No, he broke up with me to move here.
Oh, and then you
Yeah.
were like, "No, it's not gonna end on your terms because I'm
Absolutely
coming
not. I
with
was
you."
like, well, this is weird. I'm going to be doing an exchange program with Cal Poly Pomona. What a coincidence. And I basically picked a school near LA because I didn't want to break up with my boyfriend.
And wait, and you married him?
Yeah, he's still my husband to this very day.
Wow, stalking actually worked.
I always tell people don't use me as any excuse for terrible behavior. But yes, it worked with this guy anyway.
I feel like we need to put some sort of a warning message at the
Trigger
beginning
warning.
and end of this. Yes, please,
Exactly.
because
Please don't stalk people. Don't. I mean, listen, we'd been together 3 years at that point, and I was just like, oh no, you're wrong. You love me, and you just don't know how much yet. So, and I was right.
you were right. You
And here we are.
manifested it again on
Yes,
another
I'm a
level.
master manifester. That's the truth.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So you get here now with Friends, of course, it's not only a show in front of a studio audience, but it's the show in front of a studio audience. And I mean, did you feel like you had enough experience performing on a stage to feel comfortable with that aspect of what you had to do?
I was lucky in that they fit because no, I had no experience doing that was my second job. And the first one was it was with Ted Danson and on the show Becker. And it was in front of a studio audience. And it was like 2 weeks before that. So I
Mhm.
had some recent experience, but also they filmed my scene with, Rachel separate from the audience because of just the timing of how things were going to work. So
Okay.
I was there, but they played the tape. You know how they do sometimes. So I kind of had that weight dropped from me, the pressure. And, you know, Jennifer Aniston was just lovely. And I just remember going to lunch and going, well, I'm not eating because, oh my Lord, she is just a fit lady. My favorite story is I was at craft services, the snack table, because obviously I am eating. And I was standing there with and Matthew Perry and Michael Rappaport were running lines.
Mm.
And, you know, I have ADD and I act on impulse. And I was just like, do you guys want me to be on book for you? Because they were kind of looking down as they and they kind of went, sure, and handed me the script. And just kind of were doing their lines. And then Matthew Perry skipped a line. And I said, oh, you forgot to say, oh, God. And he said, I don't like it. And I went, the line or the movie? And he went, who are you? And it was like my moment of happiness that he was like, you're funny. So that was pretty awesome.
That is awesome. That's cool. Now it's so cool that you were able to, and I mean, based on a quick look at your resume, it feels like you're this power broker who only agrees to appear on the top shows on TV at any given time. Is it standards? Is it luck? Like, how do you get to amass such a high profile resume? Because we're talking about, bouncing around shows like Grey's Anatomy, This Is Us, the Newsroom, like either critically acclaimed, highly rated, both. Like, you're there for the top stuff ever.
You know, I've never thought about that. I really haven't. I mean, listen, I'm an actor. We're like, give me an audition, I will audition. I mean, you know, maybe not porn, but other than that, I will definitely audition.
I love how you said maybe.
Well, listen, you never know. You never know. Never say never.
Okay.
But you know, I think it has been in some ways just because you have no real choice at the level of, you know, when you're doing kind of co-star, guest star things, you take the jobs that you are offered. And my mom would say, like, why don't you call up that show and ask to be on that? I'd be
Right.
like, yeah, if only that was how it works, because then I'd absolutely already be a series regular. That's my goal.
Yeah.
Hasn't happened yet, but we're plowing away. So no, it's been, I guess, luck. Yeah.
And I remember on this very show and for Edge Magazine, I had a conversation with Jason Alexander from Friends,
Yeah.
or I'm sorry, from Seinfeld.
Mm-hmm.
Seinfeld, George Costanza, of course. And we had a similar topic that we were talking about, just the idea of, you know, which direction his career was going in, and, you know, whether he liked the fact that he'd been on a sitcom for so long, et cetera, et cetera. And he said, look, like, no matter, you know, how popular Seinfeld is, when you're really in the business, you know that there's only maybe about a dozen people, if that, in this industry who could truly pick and choose what they do. And the rest of us really do have to be open to whatever comes along. And, you know, I'm thinking this is the iconic Jason Alexander from the iconic Seinfeld, but
it
that's
never
the
changes.
life.
It's true. Unless you're producing your own stuff, and then you can kind of do what you want and hope it gets, you know, made. But yeah, no, there's, you know, I could probably only think of 7 people that can go like, here's what I want to do.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of the beast, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
On the plus side, you do a lot of things you never necessarily thought you would do. Like, I think of myself as a comedic actress. Like, that's where my vein of gold is. That's what I love to do. And yet I have been the mother of the dead children, the mother of the molested children. I'm like, I would never have put myself in those, you know, I've gotten killed on Criminal Minds. Those are not things I would have been like, that's my jam. That's just, you know, I'm an actor and I love to act, but those aren't necessarily roles that I would have been setting myself up for necessarily, you know?
Do you feel comfortable with that? Like, I mean, as much as the other stuff when it's a purely dramatic role?
I do. I think it's just a whole different vibe. Like, I did Grey's Anatomy, and it was a 4-hour sobbing. My son had just died. They're coming to harvest his organs. I mean, really deep stuff. And you know, acting, and acting is good, but it's very hard to be emotionally present like that for 4 hours. I mean, I texted my husband on the way home and went, I'm going to have a margarita and then I'm going to come in the back door and go to bed. And he was like, got it. Because it's a lot. Whereas when you do, a multi-camera, single camera comedy or comedy in general, you're lit up in a different way. Like after that, I want to go out with the people in the cast or go, just a different energy. But I feel confident in both. Yeah.
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 Well, I mean, let's just touch on a couple of these things. Now, The Newsroom was a show that was, I feel like it was a little bit before its time. It was very critically acclaimed, but I feel
Yeah.
like maybe if it were a now show and it caught on a streaming service, it would have had more buzz and spotlight and,
Yeah.
Found its audience a little bit more. What was it like though, working sort of in that environment? And was that, how was that environment in your comfort zone? Like, is that something
It
you
was,
enjoyed?
I loved that, every part of that. I feel like Aaron Sorkin's always a little bit ahead. I mean, I think Sports Night was also just too early,
Yeah.
and later it would have been a massive hit. But I felt great. I mean, Sam Waterston was so warm the minute because I play his secretary. And the minute I got there, he was like, how long do you think we've worked together? And he was like ready to build it. He's a theater actor, which is such a gift. And Jeff Daniels is just, he stays kind of in character, but in a way he's also very kind. So I remember I was coming over and there wasn't a chair, and he gets up and goes, here, you can sit here. And I go, no, that's okay. He goes, sit. I'm like, oh, okay. Because he was like, in the middle of his, but Aaron Sorkin was just generous and kind. And he would always, I'd be like hovering around looking at the monitors, because I just never wanted to go to my trailer. I mean, Jane Fonda is here, and, all these amazing actors. I just want to stand and absorb. And he move his chair over and hand me headphones so I could be part of watching it. And it was just great. I loved it. I wished it would have gone on forever.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people still do. I mean, it's such a quote-worthy show. You see clips of it and memes of it online all the time. And it's just a show that, interestingly, continues to be very influential in its own way. We'll flip to something entirely different. The Middle. That feels a lot more in your bag, baby, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Was that a good time for you? And
it was great. The character, it was one of those things where when you study, because I also teach and coach acting, I always have. I love it.
Yeah.
And when you do that enough, you really see what the page is asking of you. And this character, everything she said ended in a question mark. And so, coming from Minnesota, that's not too hard either, because, we want to be super nice, are you okay? And so I came in and, did it, and they were kind of like, nobody's done it. Like, thank you for, nobody kind of understood the question marks. They kind of thought maybe they were a typo, or they just didn't quite get the joke of it. So yeah, it was fun. It was a good day,
That's amazing. Do you like sort of the life of, and I know that, on some level you covet the idea of being a series regular,
For sure.
but do you enjoy kind of being able to bounce from one show to another? And it's almost, I don't want to make this sound derogatory, but it's almost like a Forrest Gump thing, where you're just kind of popping into all these great moments and all these great shows, and oh, there she is. She was everywhere.
I do. I mean, I ultimately, I want to do a sitcom. I want to have, a sitcom that makes me, and have because that day job is the best day job. Like the hours are amazing. If you have kids, there's just great stuff in that. And also jumping around means I can be home a lot with my kids. And I've gotten to be their, kind of a stay-at-home mom in some ways, because even when you work, a lot, you're still not working a lot of time. It's auditions and things like that, which now we just do at home anyway. So the gift of that is I get to be home a little more, and my kids are now 19 and 11. So
now beyond all that, beyond all that, when you say a sitcom, are we going back to talking about like a standard traditional studio audience sitcom, because that is, I mean, I feel like a very big dividing line for people who are attracted towards the idea of that, or people who don't want any part of that for in the long term. Is that what you
Oh,
mean?
it's the best of both worlds. You're doing television, but you're also doing theater. So
Hmm.
you get the audience feedback, you get all the energy of the room. That's where I'm gonna live. I'm very excited for that when it happens. Gonna manifest it, manifesting it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You need to buy some new pants.
I do. That's what I have to do, and I'll name them.
And that'll either be the beginning of a bright new role, or maybe the beginning of the end mentally for you. Like, we'll remember the day that you named your pants.
You're like, there it was. That was the tipping point into my
Yeah.
crazy world.
Well, let's talk real quick about what you have going on now, because we have a lot to be excited about right now. We talked about both things, but um the offer, of course.
Hmm.
This is something that I have to imagine is the most high profile thing yet to debut on Paramount Plus. This is a
Hmm.
big, big deal. What was the journey, so to speak, like for you to become a part of this project, and what was it like? How long ago did this happen for you? Because you
Yeah, it
mentioned,
was last June, and
wow.
it was funny because I was kind of resistant. Only in that it was going to happen. They wanted to do rehearsals, and nobody does rehearsals.
Mhm.
You don't get them. It's usually a huge gift. I would have loved. I was like, I want to be at rehearsals, except it was right in the, of course, the week I was booked to be in Minnesota for a family vacation.
Mhm.
And, it was the first time flying since, it was a big deal.
Yeah.
And then the director, Dexter Fletcher, that they sent this, write the biography of your character. And I was just like, ugh. I was like, I can't go on my family vacation and have to write a biography. Ugh. I was just such a little, I don't even know what. I was just a little, it was awful.
Second grader.
Yes, very much. It was like, don't tell me what to do. And my best friend is a director. Her name's Kate Cannon. And
Mhm.
she's like a psychic in a lot of ways. And she was like, you need to lean into this. You need to change your plans and lean in. And I was
Mhm.
like, okay. And because I trust her. And then the rehearsals were so great. I mean, it was like old school theater camp. Like, here's me and, Dan Fogler and Juno Temple and Patrick Gallo, who plays my husband, all in like a studio space downtown, sitting in a circle, doing the scenes. I mean, it was just total nerdville. It was amazing. And so that kind of set the tone of it. And then it was just joy. And Dexter Fletcher is just one of the sweetest, most fun directors. He loves his job and his energy is up, and it just makes the day so great. So
That's
I was really lucky. I feel like, to get that role and to be a part of that, because I think it's pretty cool.
it's I mean, people are so excited to see it. As we're speaking right now, I believe it's being released at the end of the month, right? A few days
Yeah.
away. So buzz is high. And the other project, of course, just dropped. We're talking about something that's already a hit. The Flight Attendant on HBO
Hmm.
Max, and season 2, people are gobbling it up. Um, and again, this is something that people were so excited to see Kaley Cuoco, and what this show would be when it debuted last
Yeah.
year. And it turns out that people really, really liked it, and we're excited for this story to continue. And now you have an opportunity to be a part of it. What's it like? I mean, you're no stranger to joining a successful show when the wheels are already turning. But what was it like for you to hop on board?
Well, there's a successful show like Grey's, which has been on for 18 years,
Hmm.
and that's like a well-oiled machine. It's just like boom. Kevin McKidd, who's on the show, directed my episode, so he was very conscious about like, are you okay? Can we keep going? Are you good? And it
Hmm.
was like boom, 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 and
Okay.
they've been around, and it's great. With these guys, because it was only one season, because it was during COVID, they didn't have a lot of it was like the beginning still. So it still felt like excitement and new. And Kaley, as much as she's been doing this since she's 14, she still comes to it with a beginner's excitement. which I can't. I mean, God bless her. She's the sweetest. I was sitting in the makeup chair, and I hadn't met her, and she walks in, and she's like, "Hi, thank you for being here." And I'm like, I'm already. And Zaja Mamet is just snarky and wonderful and funny, and we improvised in our scene together, and so that it felt super. I don't know. I think I've just been around enough that I don't hype anything up. I just kind of go, we'll see what happens. And then I've really never had a bad experience. I have so many friends who've been on sets and they're like, that person was awful or that. And I just haven't had that. So I don't know if I'm just, but I've never seen cocaine either. So, and that had to be around. So maybe I just miss things.
I was going to say, maybe that's the reason why everyone's in such a good mood, but that's kind of, I don't know. But I mean, good for you that you haven't seen any of these things that could kind of make your day bad. So
Yeah, no.
that's well, and I mean, you're having good days now because now the fruits of your labor are here. Both shows are out. People are watching or are about to be watching, and exciting things on the horizon. You have to
Yeah.
believe. I mean, I don't know what you have going on. I know that, as you said, there's a Chris Evans movie that you are
Mhm.
in that we are going to be seeing at some point in the future. And I guess you don't want to talk anymore about that.
Oh,
That's
I'm happy to. It
oh,
was
okay.
Dexter Fletcher who directed The Offer, brought me in to do a role with Chris. It's a movie called Ghosted. It's with him and Anna de Armas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, two really unattractive people. It was hard.
Ah.
It was hard to be around them.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Bags on heads. Yeah.
I mean, but and it was super fun. It was he's great. Lots of I again improvising and playing around, and I did do my Minnesota accent because it just seemed right. So it was really fun. So that I don't know when that's coming out. I just shot that like 3 weeks ago in Atlanta.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
Okay.
and that's all I know about it. So
I feel like once somebody has a successful role with somebody who is a major player or has been a major player in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that is the progression. That's like the stepping stone. Um, so I
from your
mean,
lips to God's ears. Let's
hey,
just
we're manifesting. Is that
manifest it with
something?
me.
Have you done it? Have you done anything with like major special effects or CGI or anything like that yet?
No, I'm in I don't know if you've seen the Spectrum Monster commercials with all the like the mummy and the werewolf and they're like comedic. Anyway, I play Mrs. Werewolf. So
Okay.
I've had all the prosthetics and all
Okay.
the, 4 hours of makeup. I've done that part of it.
Yeah.
I don't recommend it. It's a very, very sticky situation.
Well,
But
nice.
no, I haven't done any well, I guess I did. I mean, I was part of Minority Report. It didn't get in the final cut, but it was a whole world where everything behind us was kind of green screen but then it didn't make the final cut. So I didn't get to see the fruits of that labor.
Do you like that? The idea of that? Because that is so far removed from I have to believe it's so far removed from like performing in front of an audience and having sort of that organic theatrical feel. Instead, you're kind of in the ether and they have to create everything around you in virtual silence.
Yeah.
Do you like the idea of doing a lot of that?
I don't listen again. I say no to don't guys offer what you got. I will say, but I would say I've learned how to live in that world in the past 2 years because everything I'm taping is at home by myself, and I have an app that is like it reads for me, and so I'm literally acting with nothing. So I've been training for that, but it's not necessarily where I would love my.
Gotcha.
I'll do a Marvel movie, I guess.
Ugh.
But,
Well, look, we're all going to be hoping and thinking and praying and manifesting for you to find your way to that sitcom world. I think that would be a
thank
lot of
you.
fun. Why don't we tell people that now? This is interesting because you are on social media.
Yes.
What is your preferred social media platform as of today.
As of
There's a
today.
lot of there's a lot of talk about not to timestamp things, but there's a little bit of controversy about Twitter going on today.
Yes, I've
So
heard. I've
yeah.
heard.
So where do you want people to preferably follow you?
Well, preferably Instagram
Okay.
would probably be best.
Seems
Where
safe.
I am always and don't post as much is TikTok. I'm addicted.
Really?
100% addicted to TikTok. TikTok is life. I tell people now, if I quote anything or tell you, hey, I just saw or I just heard, just know it was from TikTok, and I'm just going to not say it
Oh my
because
God.
that's the only place I get everything. But in terms of posting stuff, Instagram is where I'm most active, and yeah.
You are much hipper, as they say, than myself. The other thing I just wanted to mention is that unlike many people who have just dropped the idea of this, you continue to maintain your own website, right?
Yeah. Can you imagine?
It's I love it. It's a
What am
throwback.
I from 1990? I know. Yeah.
Well,
It's
you
still.
did say you were 750 years old, so
So yeah. So the computer world, what? The webs?
so that's a good place for people to kind of get up to
Yes.
speed with the things you've done, the things you're doing, the things you will be doing, correct?
Note to self: update your website. Got
And
it.
that is just we'll put the URL in the description of the show, but that
Oh,
is
cool.
the yourname.com,
Yes, that's
correct?
right.
Excellent. All right. Well, look, we've barely we've barely even like what am I trying to say? We've barely chipped away at the iceberg that is your career, so to speak,
Yes.
which sounds just
I know.
really
Maybe not. Maybe I'm not an iceberg. I guess it's better than being the Titanic.
I know I went in a really bad direction there.
I'll take it. I know what you mean.
You know what? We barely made a hole in the piñata that is your
Okay.
career thus
I'll
far.
take it. Filled with candy. That's me.
But yeah, I mean, so cool just to talk to you and get a sense as to what it's like to be you and what you've done and where you've been and all the cool things you have coming up. And we can't wait to see what you will in fact be doing next.
Well, thank
So
you. I appreciate it. It was great talking with you.
great talking to you too. And thank you guys, everyone who's listening, watching, checking us out any way you can. Please subscribe for free on your outlet of choice. And we'll see you next time here at Celebrity Stage Stories. Thanks, guys. Thanks,
Thank
Vicky.
you. Thank you so much. That was really fun.